And now, the big one. Manchester City versus Chelsea. Wednesday, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. Coming off, that League Cup final. I want to start here. Do you feel like it's better for City how that League Cup final went? Do you feel like it's worse? Like, what's that? Where do you land on this?
It's such a good question. It's such a good question because I don't know, man. Like on one hand, I was like, okay, we looked pretty good. We concede in the 8th minute to Myra Ramirez, and then we ended up kind of like holding tough. You get the equalizer on the Fujino banger. You had City had more of the ball. They had more shots, 17-12. They had more shots on target, 6-5. They had more corners, which I think is surprising against a team like Chelsea sometimes. 6-2, City had the advantage there, and so I was like, okay, like they could hang with them. But then on the other hand, City played well, and they could hang. And again, I go back to it. I don't mean to like beat this dead horse, but the margin for error when you play these top level, like the top four elite teams in the world, Barcelona, Lyon, Chelsea, and Orlando Pride, obviously, when you play those four teams, you just don't have any margin for any real error. So the Yui Hasagawa freak unlucky own goal, that will undo you. And so now you have this and you have this big disappointment, and now it's okay, everybody try to forget about that and play a Champions League match. I don't feel wonderful about it.
Yeah, I think I've kind of landed on both sides of this because I think you look at the City lineup, they clearly wanted that one bad. For whatever reason. They wanted to win. They came ready to win. They played really well, to your point, and then fell short. So there is the possibility that now you run it back versus this Chelsea side, and they're a little bit of like Barca, Madrid. They're kind of in your head a little bit, and you got to kind of overcome that mentally. The flip side, we see this obviously in college football too. Tough to beat a team, multiple times in a year. When there are high stakes. You could imagine that maybe City learned some stuff here. Obviously, the Fujino goal was amazing, but it could just be that Chelsea kind of has their number. When you look at Chelsea, I kind of think one player that is an entertaining watch for sure, just because she'll just like rip it from. She'll do whatever, rip it from anywhere. Shukaduskin. I think once you get past that part, she's a really solid player in the defensive midfield. She's just always in tough spots. She's just an extra defender. Like it's almost like in the NBA where there's like doubles happening everywhere, just like somebody sliding over to kind of like double and just wreaking havoc. That's what she does on the pitch, from her spot. She's sliding into places. She's disruptive, and then offensively, she's really smart and really good and really accurate. So she's a dangerous player, and that Chelsea side just loaded. It could just be that from an injury standpoint, maybe too much to overcome for City. But I am kind of holding out hope because this is much like Bayern versus Lyon. This is a spot where, I don't know, City can kind of like make a stand here and be like, hey, things haven't gone to plan a little bit. We're not just going to roll over, lose at home, and then just kind of show up at Stamford Bridge and, just for the formality of getting beat and exiting this tournament in a little bit of disarray. So I don't know. I think there's a chance that they kind of make a stand here.
I like it. I like where your head's at. I'm trying to go back just to make sure that I fact check myself correctly. I mean, I'm almost certain. Yeah. So when City got the massive win over Barcelona, that was at home. That was at Joy Stadium. They've shown the ability. Carlo, our pal Carlo, asks the $1 million question is, what is Bunny Shaw's status for the Chelsea match? And my expert analysis journalism answer is, I don't know. It's hard to find. Sometimes it's hard to find injury status for women's teams. I haven't heard anything. She wasn't even available in the bench for the League Cup. I don't know if that was just purely, hey, keep resting, and then we'll see if you can give it a go for the Champions League. I am not aware to this point, and she obviously looms large over this in terms of giving yourself chances to score goals. Unless I'm totally spacing on this, I don't even think Caroline made an appearance, right?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. So, it'll be interesting to see if you can get her out there, um, to see what she can do. But I think with Catalina, she's kind of getting like up to speed and you know, understanding how she fits in the offense. Our pals over at Shades of Blue podcast, and anybody who appreciates Manchester City Football Club, you should immediately check out the Shades of Blue podcast. Or if you like football in any way, men's or women's, they do great stuff over there. Our pal Crunk Chocolate over there mentioned that Catalina has been a little wasteful with some possessions in her time in the
Mm-hmm.
NWSL, and that the way that kind of translates is pardon me, in the WSL. When Catalina played for North Carolina Courage, and there's this, they play this wide open in general. Let me back up. Let me make sure I'm making some sense here. In the NWSL, you typically have more possessions to try to play with. So even though the Courage play a little bit more of a possessive style, the game itself, the tenor of those matches themselves are a little more up and down. In the WSL, it is typically a slower pace, and you don't have as many possessions. And so what he pointed out about Catalina is that in some of her possessions over here for City, she has been a little wasteful at times. And if you do that against Chelsea, you might just get smacked. So
Mm-hmm.
I wonder. I gotta think she has to make an appearance because she is a genius footballer. She's a great player. You gotta get her in the game. But I wonder if that was part of the decision to not play her in that League Cup final. And there's only one way to find out what's going to happen, and that's to watch the match on Wednesday.
Yeah, 100%. And I think Gettolin is a really interesting potential difference maker because it's not a player that Chelsea will have seen to date. And shout out to Carlo in the chat. Chelsea's bench is the difference. Totally agree.
Absolutely,
From a
totally
depth
right.
standpoint, when you can start Myra, LJ, Macario, and JRK, and then you've still got Wrighton, Aggie Beaver Jones. You've got tons of people to go to. I think there was talk too that, like, I mean, I wish I could fact check this. And apologies again, we're in live mode here, but I think there was talk about Mia Fischel
Official
and
was on the
Sam
bench.
Kerr. Okay, so Fischel, yeah. So this is yeah, the rich get richer for sure. So I think like from a option standpoint, from a depth standpoint, they really really make it tough. Much like my Orlando Pride, where you could bring players in the last 20 minutes, and you've sort of given your best to just kind of hold, and now they're bringing players that can come over the top, can really really make it tough. And I think the Bunny Shaw point, watching her kind of against Chelsea and how organized they were, Millie Bright made it difficult. I think Bjorn's been really good in that spot. Kind of like maybe holding that spot for Germa. We'll see. And then I think Hannah Hampton as well. I think those three in the center there, if that's who starts, I think they show really, really good. What's the word I'm looking for? Really good discipline defensively. So they're not going to give you something. They're not going to give you a cheapie. Which is maybe why a Caroline could kind of come in and dazzle a little bit. Some smoke and mirrors, and now maybe they can snatch an early lead.
Yeah, a live fact check here. So Fischel was on the bench for the League Cup final, but when naming the Champions League squads, Bon Pastor included Sam Kerr, but had to leave Fischel out. This is according to the BBC. And Bon Pastor said it was, quote, a difficult decision. I believe that to an extent. I'm not so sure how difficult a decision it ever is to leave Sam Kerr if you have the option to put her on your squad. I don't know. But I trust Sonia Bon Pastor, obviously. But if a doctor looks at me and says, I think Sam Kerr can go, it wouldn't be that difficult of a decision for me to put her in the squad. So, and Carlo points out in the chat, girl Wrighton will be missed. She came back from international duty with a back injury. I mean, we haven't even really seen anything from Germa. Kira Walsh picked up a knock. She missed a couple games. It's just like they have this weird revolving door. But back to Carlo's point, the revolving door, even though you have great players walking out, you have these other great players walking in. It's a hell of a revolving door to be involved in your club.
Unbelievable. Yeah, I'm looking at the chat here. Toros points out Neem Charles needs to come back at left back, push Baltimore up the field. Now you have another attacking player potentially in Baltimore. Neem Charles. Oh, I always appreciate how Charles plays. I think she's really good.
Yeah,
And then also reminds us that Micah Hamano plays for this team.
of
And
course.
just another, wizard that you can bring in that could change the game. Now, I mean, are you ready to make a prediction? I think I'm ready. I've got where I want to go with my prediction, and I'm happy to go first or second. I leave it up to you.
All right, go ahead. Go first.
Okay, I think I'm going to, Chelsea's going to have the second one at home. So, and I don't feel like mentally they're any kind of intimidated by this City squad, the City side. Now, City, on the other hand, this is sort of like kind of last stand territory. When you were on the Shades of Blue podcast, everybody should go check out that episode for sure. It aired last week. Very insightful stuff there. I think City on the brink or maybe at risk of losing out on a Champions League spot, I think maybe changes a little bit of the geometry. And now I think they might be looking at this one like, we need to do something. we need to stop the bleeding. We need to kind of, reestablish. This is a team that beat Barcelona in the group stage not that long ago. A couple injuries ago, and it feels like a long time ago, but it wasn't that long ago. This is a team that, at their best, can play with any team. Even a little bit shorthanded because they've got a great 11, they've got a great 12, 13 that can really play. So I think that they make a stand here. I'm going to say 1-1 at City, and this one goes back to the bridge with Chelsea still needing some work to do.
Okay, I love it. For anybody who watched our knockout stage preview, I did, full of bluster and confidence, pick City to go through. So, in the interest of, I think in the journalism industry, or at least the sports talking head industry, I think it's referred to as take integrity. In the interest of that, I am going to take, because that fluky goal off of Hasegawa, I'm going to take Manchester City Football Club 2, Chelsea 1. And it's going. Do I feel great about it? No, but I picked them to get through in the preview episode. So Carlo, don't yell at me. But and I'll say City wins 2-1 at home, and it's a Miedema game. Miedema comes out and is an absolute force. Because to be just totally honest with you, that I think that's what it'll take for them to beat him. I think it'll have to be supernova Miedema time.
Yeah, they need it, and she could do it. I think in spots she's looked really, really good. The exact right kind of player that you need to dominate stretches of this match to kind of stay in it, or to your point, even get a big win here.
Yeah, I love it. It's going to be interesting to see. I got to tell you, live producing on the show, or just our friendship in general, I have so many meetings and important things to do at work tomorrow and Wednesday. I'm watching all of these matches after work, so no spoilers in full effect, please.
Okay, spoiler-free zone. Gotcha. All right, quick look ahead. Match week 2 in the NWSL coming up after all of this tasty Champions League action that we're going to get midweek this week. Some big ones. North Carolina Courage host your Seattle Reign. Washington Spirit host KC Current. Shout out to KC Flippenful, you already know. Gotham FC host my double winning champion Orlando Pride. That's going to be exciting. And then, I think we'll be back after the first leg of this quarterfinal Champions League. We'll have some takes. We'll have some thoughts that we'll share. Not sure if we're going to go live. Maybe we will. Maybe we won't. Stay tuned for that. But with that said, anything else you want to hit before we get out of here?
Did you say who the Washington Spirit are playing? Did I miss that?
Yeah. Casey Current. Yep. Shout out our friend of the show, new friend of the show, Flip and Phil. You already know.
Of course, and Gulshan, obviously from Washington D.C. So now
I missed that.
We have two ships on a collision course here. So I'm looking forward to it.
Love it. All right, this has been another episode of Into the Channel, a live episode of the channel. Thank you for hanging out. If you enjoyed the show or love one soap as much as your boys do, make sure you're kicking with us each and every single week. Like if you liked, subscribe, follow YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you like to watch or listen, leave us a review over your favorite podcast app. We want to hear from you. We love hearing from you. Links to all of our socials, except one, in the show notes of this episode. And a big thank you to my co-host as well, Mr. Grand Angle, for never being afraid to do it live. My guy, I appreciate you, bro.
Likewise, buddy. Thank you everybody for hanging out with us. We got, what is it? Let's do the math. 180 times 2. Oh boy, me trying to do live math on the show. What are 4 matches of 360 minutes of football coming up in the next two days? Very much
Nailed
looking
it.
forward to it. It really wasn't that hard of math to do now that I look back at it. It's okay. This is why we record the show usually, so Dino can make me look like not such an idiot. But we appreciate you guys for rocking with us, and we will talk to you all next time.